Alright, hey guys, Jack here from Peach Guitars, and today I've got another Peach Saloon shootout video for you. This time we're going to tune things a little bit lower, but before I get into today's video, let me please remind you to like, comment down below with your thoughts, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Okay, so in today's video I'm going to carry on the theme that I set out a couple of videos ago where we introduced some stock from our saloon here in the shop, which if you haven't been to the shop, the saloon is the area that we keep all the very best sort of production line level instruments that I don't often get an opportunity to show you on this channel. And I thought I'd continue that theme but show you something that we definitely don't show you very often on the channel at all. So I've got a few baritone guitars today, and this is going to make for quite an interesting comparison because there aren't many options for baritone guitars on the market, and all those that are on the market all offer something slightly different. And the three guitars that I'm going to show you today all do things in a slightly different way to one another, but the results that you get are some of the biggest guitar tones you could possibly imagine, and you can use them in a wide array of different applications, not just the obvious low-tuned kind of examples that most people will be familiar with, but you can get a lot of tonal variety out of these things. I've got three to show you, but stay tuned towards the end of the video where I've got a fourth mystery competitor to show you as well. Okay, by the way, you're hearing all the guitars today being played through this really cool little orange Brent Hines Terra signature model. I'm using it for some clean tones with some ambient reverb and tremolo coming from a Line 6 HX effects, as well as the full-blown distorted tone, which is just the amp tone. All three of these guitars sound absolutely fantastic when they're kind of met with some fairly fuzzy, nasty distortion, which this amp does very well. Okay, so baritone guitar number one for today is from our friends at Reverend. This is the Descent RA. This guitar is probably the most interesting of the bunch here in the fact that it plays on the baritone theme in a little bit of a different way, and it affords you some different options that I'm going to walk you through compared to most traditional baritone guitars. So it's finished in a really cool purple burst on top of a solid Carina wood body, as most Reverend guitars tend to be. It's also following Reverend's form of having a roasted maple neck on all their guitars as well. This guitar, compared to everything else here, has the shortest scale length for a baritone of only 26 3/4 inches. So what that means is that you can actually feel a little bit more comfortable with bending the strings. It doesn't necessarily have that really elongated feel that some baritone guitars have, and I think that if you're a regular guitar player, adopting an instrument like this is going to feel a little bit more natural than jumping all the way up to something like a 28 or a 29 scale length. It just means it's a little bit more comfortable. I think you can do a little bit more with this, and tonally as well I think this is quite versatile in the fact that you've got some Reverend custom rail hammer chisel pickups, they call them, but you know, big fat humbucking sounding pickups with the added benefit of what all Reverend guitars have, and I love this feature of this bass cut control on this knob here. So you're going to see me playing with that throughout the course of the clips. It basically just reduces some of the low frequency and the woofiness that you can expect out some humbucking pickup tones sometimes, and it means that as opposed to a coil split, you can get a more natural, sort of slightly thinner sound out of this guitar. So it works very well for cleans, as well as for some really monstrous high gain tones that you're going to hear as well. Alright, so the second baritone I'm going to show you today is from our friends at Revolter. This is the Mondetta Baritone VII in Fuoco burst. Really, really cool looking instrument, and I think it takes a lot of inspiration from classic guitar designs, as most of Dennis Fano's designs tend to do, in fact. So it's a real thin line body, as a lot of Revolter guitars are, and it's kind of got a little bit of a Firebird appearance to it, though electronically this sits more kind of similar to what maybe a Jazzmaster would have on board. And it's those kind of amalgamations of weird little quirks from guitars of history that Dennis Fano pulls together really nicely in his designs. So this is also loaded with a mahogany wood body, maple neck and an ebony fingerboard, so a really nice classic combination of woods going on. Slightly longer scale length on this guitar as well. Compared to the Reverend I showed you, this sits as the Goldilocks spot of all the guitars I'm going to show you today. This is a 28-inch scale length. You've also got 24 frets, so it feels very comfortable with that extended scale to play either up high or down low. You get a little bit more clarity and articulation from that extended scale. And then electronically, you've got a combination of a P90 pickup in the neck and a humbucking pickup in the bridge. So once again, quite classic in that regard. You also have two mini toggles down here, sorry. One for a coil split for the bridge humbucker, and one to reverse the phase. So when you're in that middle position, you can get some nice squawky, honky, fairly hollow kind of tones, which work really nicely with clean tones or with some higher gain tones as well. Okay, third and final baritone I'm going to show you today is from Gretsch, and this sits in much more of a traditional baritone kind of a region. If you're more familiar with this kind of instrument, this is probably going to appeal to you a little bit more than if you're just coming from a regular 6-string kind of setup. I think this, though, affords you the real classic twangy baritone thing. If you're into those kind of Nashville studio tones that a lot of those guys use baritones for, this is going to get you the closest. And of course, being a Gretsch, it's got a little bit more of that inherent chimey, articulate quality anyway. So this is new for 2020. This is the G5260 model in this really nice jade grey finish. You've got 2 Gretsch mini humbucking pickups, so even though it's a little bit more vintage in nature, it still affords you a little bit more solidity if you want to go for some higher gain tones. It doesn't have the hum, obviously, and it's a little bit more solid in the low frequencies as well. And as I said, this is probably the most traditional baritone style instrument, and what I mean by that is it's even longer scale, 29 3/4 inch scale on this, so it really feels like you're heading into bass guitar territory. Though being tuned B to B, as all baritones are, it still affords you enough flexibility in the strings if you do want to play some lead lines and some single note stuff. It's also got a 12-inch radius on this guitar, which I think is quite nice because it sort of straddles the line between being vintage enough but also affording you that flexibility if you want to go up high, as I said as well. So kind of the most traditional baritone instrument here, but also one of the most versatile due to the fact that it's not so overdriven, the pickups aren't as hot, so you can get some really nice clean and dirty tones out of this guitar as well. Alright, as you've made it towards the end of the video, I've actually got a fourth guitar that I'm going to show you. A little bit of a secret weapon, if you will, and it's something that a lot of guitar players just don't consider. It's not strictly a baritone, but it is very interesting, and it's certainly in the same ballpark, so let's grab it. Alright, guitar number 4 is something I'm sure a lot of you didn't expect to see. As I said, it's not strictly a baritone. This is the Squier Bass 6. So the Fender Bass 6 was originally designed to, I think, kind of afford a few more options to bass players. So it's tuned E to E, as a regular guitar would be, but down a full octave, as opposed to most baritones which are B to B. This goes all the way down an octave, but it's interesting to have some of those more familiar kind of standard E guitar tuned voicings available, though of course they're down the octave. And despite being labelled as a bass, there's actually a few other guitar oriented kind of specs on here, including this kind of standard Jazzmaster style floating vibrato, which works really nicely to add some shimmer to cleaner chords. You've got 3 Alnico single coil pickups on here, which each have their own individual on and off switch, as well as a phase reversal here. So you can get a lot of tonal variety out of this, and being tuned that much lower, it adds even more depth if you want to play with some nice ambient chords, or if you really want to lay in with some heavy distortion, you can get some really nice tight sounding low frequencies happening as well. Alright, so this Bass 6, along with the other baritone guitars that I've shown you today, all fit the bill of what I consider to be a lot of guitarists' greatest secret weapon, particularly if you're into recording. There's really nothing like a baritone or a lower tuned instrument to just add a lot of depth to a track, or equally to just sit and have a play around with and see what ideas fall out. You really have to adapt your playing style, but when you do, you can get some really interesting results out of all of these guitars. And I think it's fair to say that whatever your style of playing typically is, there is a baritone instrument out there for you, and it's always worth looking at some options to explore if you want to expand your tonal horizons by tuning down a few steps. So that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed another shootout from the saloon. We're going to keep these going as you guys tend to like what we're doing. Let me know in the comments which of these guitars is your favourite, whether you're more of a fan of the traditional baritone style or if you're a little bit more adventurous and you like stuff like the Bass 6. I'm sure there's something for everybody though, and if you want to find out any more information about any of these guitars or any of the other products I've shown you in the video, then head to peachguitars.com by clicking the link in the description box below to do so. So that's it. Make sure you leave a like, make sure you're subscribed, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.